Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Streams. Today, we are going to be talking about a sensitive topic, one that might be getting a little bit more so with the election coming up. We're going to be talking about modding political conversations on Twitch. So, we've got a few fantastic guests that are all from all over modding and streaming politics. First off, I'm going to introduce Rocketanski. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi. My name's Emily. I go by Rocketanski here on Twitch and on the Twitter. And yeah, I do. I used to go hard with the political streams, and since I've chilled out into a more chill stream kind of vibe, but we still talk about politics very frequently, and moderating politics can be quite a challenge.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, and I'm sure streaming it is a whole thing too. I don't know anything about that, but we've also got on here to talk with us today, Freso, who knows a little bit about both. Freso, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Freso. I'm from Scandinavia. Live in Sweden, originally from Denmark. And it's kind of late here. It's 11 p.m. my time. I am a mod for a ton of channel. Far most are political. I also my real life work is as a community manager, which also is very closely related to content moderation. So yeah.
Awesome. And our last but certainly not least guest today is StealthMouseTV, who is a fellow moderator for me over at Lucid Fox. So tell us a little bit about yourself, StealthMouse.
Hi, I'm StealthMouse from StealthMouseTV. I'm a moderator for a few channels on Twitch, including this channel, Streamer Square, as well as Lucid Fox, and as told by Dylan. I work as a security guard by day, so I spend most of my day moderating for Lucid Fox.
Awesome. So for those of us who have moderated both types of chat, and then for Emily, you've gone back and forth between being a politics chat and just allowing politics in chat, what are the biggest differences between moderating a politics stream and a gaming stream?
Well,
anyone's welcome to take it up.
All right. Well, I mean, I unfortunately haven't done a gaming stream in a very long time, but moderating a gaming stream, from my experience, is honestly pretty simple in comparison to a political stream, because you're mostly dealing with, as I said, in my experience, in a gaming stream, you're mostly dealing with like people coming in to spam stuff, people coming in to say all sorts of weird things, and just general trolls and just, you know, really baseline stuff. Yeah, low level trolling. Whereas when you're moderating a politics stream, it gets a little more
right. So
in depth.
What's it like for anyone? What's it like weeding out more of the? I think we all know what Emily means when she says more in depth. One of the moderators on the panel. Do either of you want to tell me a little bit about what that means to you?
So I think political streams get more different kinds of trolls, more specific trolls, you know, the straw men, the sea lioners, the gish gallopers, all of those, which
can you just explain what those terms mean? Because all the other mods who are moderating gaming streams, who don't have to deal with like what pretends to be good arguments, might not get those terms.
So for example, a sea lioner is someone that'll come into chat. You know, they may pose a question or espouse some type of view, and usually not a very good view. You know, at least they knowingly come into a leftist channel with something that they know the streamer is going to disagree with, and they use a facade of what's the word I'm looking for?
Civility?
Civility, exactly. They use the facade of civility to claim that they're just asking questions. They're not here to disrupt the stream. They're just here to, promote conversation, and that is not what they're there for.
They're actually sucking all the air out of the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Freso, do you have some similar experience? What's it like finding some of these more hidden trolls?
Yeah, there's definitely like actually I tend to be less tolerant in the political streams, kind of, because we get a lot more of these obviously bad faith actors, where some of the other streams I have I used to mod for someone who got partnered while I was mod for him, and he would mostly get like random trolls like, hey, come follow me, or like saying the N-word in chat and thinking that was hilarious, or right, so very, very mundane stuff. The other one I'm modding for primarily right now is a woman streamer, and she is getting a lot of sexism and a lot of misogyny, but it's still, compared to, I'm not a mod for Bad Bunny, but compared to someone like Bad Bunny, like she gets all of that on top of all the political things. So it's different things I'm looking out for in different contexts, but there's also a lot of repetition, and I'd also say that being a mod for a lot of political streamers have armed me with recognizing more patterns that I'm also using to more quickly figure out like bad faith actors in non-political streams.
Yeah, it's I can definitely agree. When I'm modding for Loco, it is a completely different beast than when I'm modding for Lucid Fox. And I've had people come in and say things to Loco that if I were in a stream like Lucid Fox's, I would be like, 100% this is a bad faith troll. They are coming in here just to start something. But when it's in a non-political channel, I'm like, this person might just not know. So it's a very different way to look at those types of channels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for political streams, and I'm really curious Emily's take on this, where do you draw the line between free speech and what's permissible in chat? Like, go ahead. There's a lot to say there.
Yeah, for me, it's the way my stream is supposed to be set up, and how I'm trying to cultivate the space is to be a inclusive, primarily queer and neurodivergent space that doesn't really play well with things like respectability politics and stuff like that. So it's usually pretty, how do I put it? Like if somebody comes in asking a genuine question about queer identities, about queer politics, about leftist politics, or positions, then I like to take my time to try to answer their questions and to be informative and stuff. But a lot of the time you get people who come in and they ask very leading questions, or they're just asking questions. And that's when I usually shut it down. Like, I don't like to give people the chance to reach a point where they're comfortable enough to start saying something really, really uncool or gross. And like, sure, there's absolutely room for like difference of opinion on a lot of things. But as soon as that comes to things like a difference of opinion on who should have rights or something like that, or who should have social benefits, like disabled people or even people who are out of work or whatever, I draw a really hard line with that, because I don't want my space to be somewhere where that kind of thing can be questioned, and that questioning be given legitimacy, unless someone's genuinely asking, like, what do these people need that other people might not need in terms of like disability benefits, right? For a specific example, right? Like,
there's such a fine line to draw between, we want to be inclusive, which means we want to be able to answer people's questions, even if the first thing that they say sounds really wrong. They might legitimately have those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And one thing that I actually want to point out right now, which is a great note, is that we've put the chat into follower-only mode for 10 minutes. I am sorry to all the new folks. You need to be following for 10 minutes to chat here. But as we're talking about moderating political conversations on stream, we are getting kind of brigaded by some jerks here who might not like what we have to say or who we are. So this is a perfect example of when you might turn followers only mode on and set a timer for it so that they at least have to follow. Also note that in mod view, in your activity feed, you can see exactly when somebody follows. So if you keep that activity feed open during a time like this where you got followers only mode on, you can see any obvious names that you know are following only to get past that 10 minutes. So thanks for the lesson, trolls. That was good timing.
No, I just say that I'm really appreciating the mod view. It is such a. I feel so weird when I'm in a stream and I don't have mod view. It's like,
mod view is so good, and especially for, like I said, we use followers only mode in Lucid's chat. And I think I've said this before on this show, but I literally keep the activity view open like the entire day, because every time there's a new follow, a lot of the times it's just really obvious. And you're just like, oh, yeah, let me open up this user and hover over the ban button, because this is going to be a dumb take.
Oh, yeah.
If I could add something, I think a lot of people that come into chat, they come in and they espouse their views, which is encouraged, of course, but then, you have to be ready for the possibility that the streamer is going to disagree with you. And, you can either be receptive to what they say back or you can be defensive. And a lot of the time, I think people confuse the streamer disagreeing with you with there not being free speech in the chat. It's not that. It's the streamers trying to tell you their view on it. You're trying to exchange views, and that often devolves into unproductive, off-topic, not entertaining conversation. So that's when people get banned.
It's something that you might want to remind people if they're having trouble understanding this, because as a moderator, we see this all the time. And if they're not understanding it, one of the things that you can do is to remind them that this is a show for X amount of people. It is not a place for you to sit down and have an exact argument on your terms with someone who is trying to do a show. It's not your place to take over their stream. So you may get banned because you had a differing opinion, but was it your differing opinion or the fact that you tried to make the streamer focus on you over and over and over? So if you're going into a political chat, I say keep that in mind. If you are moderating a political chat, maybe remind the viewers sometimes, because they do think, because of that parasocial relationship, they think that this is the spot to have a one-on-one conversation with someone who disagrees with them. And it's not. It is absolutely not.
No, it really isn't. And like, I have a very short fuse with that kind of stuff, but that's mostly because I want to create a space that's safe for leftist, queer, disabled, all sorts of people who are marginalized. So, when you've got somebody coming in who wants to like debate you on all of these different subjects and all of these intersecting ideas, it kind of takes away from that a lot of the time, and you got to nip it in the bud sometimes and just let them know, like, this isn't it. There might be somewhere else where that's it, but this ain't the place.
Right. There are places where people stream just to debate people. There are places where you can go in and they'll say, yeah, hop in my Discord. Let's argue about this for an hour.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Go there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying that that's wrong. That can be your channel if that's what you want to do in the politics sphere on Twitch. But also, like, as a mod, you need to know whether this is a channel where you're going to allow something like that. And you need to figure that out with your broadcaster. How much do you want to allow? Because I know StealthMouse can speak to this. We allow really bad takes.
Yeah, we do.
We don't immediately ban, like, anyone. We will let anyone, like, we just give them the rope and we're just like, yeah, go with it. And because it's content.
I watch Lucid every morning, and every morning I see Lucid snipe out a real hot take and be like, buddy, wow. Like, it's so good, though. It's so fun. So, oh my gosh.
I guess, Freso, you're a mod in a bunch of places. Where do you, when you talk to your streamers about how you want to moderate, or if they've already given you the impression by their actions or their former mod team before you came on, how do you know when you should just outright ban somebody that you know is in bad faith, and when you should give them a little rope and maybe say, okay, if you're going to do yourself in, go ahead and just keep saying that, but maybe you'll listen, so I'll let the streamer deal with it? Is there's got to be a bunch of different areas that you're in there.
Yeah. So obviously I have like people who have pretty much zero tolerance if you just as much as insinuate that you disagree with the idea of being able to be LGBTQIA plus person, then they're just out. It's like just the thought of them being that, and they're gone and they can go somewhere else. While others are like a lot more engaging and will give them a lot of rope to hang themselves, or maybe in like the 1 out of 1,000 case where they actually like, hold on, what you're saying actually makes sense, and like those great cases are amazing.
I've seen it happen, and it sometimes makes it worth it to be like, wait, let's see if they change their mind. They don't.
Yeah.
But once in a long while.
And I think it's great that there are some streamers that allow that, but I also fully understand that not all streamers have the like mental capacity and emotional capacity to deal with that. And so like you're saying, it's for some streamers, I'm outright like, okay, so at what level of like what things or what level is like insta bans and what things are not, and for some things it's kind of just being in their streams and figuring out like what their response to trolls are, and like, okay, mods, please ban this person, and then it's like, okay, now we do it. And I see a lot of repeats. Like there are a lot of repeat bad actors that just kind of go from left channel to left channel until they've been banned in most of them. And some of those, when I encounter them, I have like a list of people where just like I have all the channels that I'm modding for open in a Chatty client. Chatty is a program that it's just a chat. It's a chat program for Twitch,
I love Chatty.
which is yeah. Me too. And so I just basically just tap through all the different channels, and like, this channel would want this person banned. So I do a lot of like preemptive banning, and Emily can attest to this. I'm a mod. Emily is one of the people I'm a mod for, and she will sometimes wake up and I have like 10 people banned overnight because because I've seen them elsewhere. And
you do tend to see you do tend to see them float around the same leftist circles. When they get banned in one, they're never satisfied when it comes to politics channels. Like, it's very rare that I would see someone from Team Catalyst go to harass somebody else from Team Catalyst once they got banned. That was like a very rare occurrence. But now when I'm in the political circles, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm expecting to see that person in other channels. 100% expecting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw that OG Prodigy was in chat, and I just want to give a huge shout out to OG Prodigy and his Posada bot, because that one is so like I use the webban command and where seen commands all the time when I'm like, this person is kind of acting weird. Like, I'm just gonna check if they've been like active elsewhere, if they're like a known bad actor or what's going on. And it's so helpful.
For anyone who does not know, Posada Bot is a custom bot made by OG Prodigy, as long as I understand that correctly, who made a bot that a lot of leftist streamers use that can detect new usernames and alert chat. It can detect when people have been banned in other user streams who use Posada Bot. So it turns into basically a tool that a lot of leftist political streamers use because they can generally agree on the types of things that they would like to ban. It's a fantastic tool. I don't necessarily, suggest that anybody pick it up because, again, it's a list that's curated by a certain type of streamer on Twitch. But at the same time, you can generally guess that most of the people are bad faith actors or general just actual homophobes, transphobes, and racists. It's a fantastic tool. I couldn't not shout out OG Prodigy, though. Thank you for that. Freso,
absolutely.
It's also really useful to see, like, because there's a big difference between someone coming in and you see them having been banned in like one or two channels, especially if you know that those two channels are people that are generally a bit more loose on the trigger finger.
Mm-hmm.
Versus someone who comes in and has like 12 bans to their name. It's like,
that's always fun too when someone comes in and they're like, oh, you've been banned in Hassan Abi's chat. You could have done any number of things.
Yeah.
And then they come in and they're like, oh, you got banned in Lumi's chat.
You're like, how'd you do that?
You're probably going to have to get out of here.
So it really helps also knowing like the acceptance levels of all these other streamers in the same sphere to kind of have an idea of how much a ban weighs in in different people's communities.
And I think I can kind of turn this into the next question. How do you balance viewpoints? Like, okay, so before you ban somebody, you may hear a really crappy take from them. How do you allow a certain amount of that to exist, like without accidentally turning yourself into an echo chamber at the same time?
I think, as a mod and as a streamer for that matter, it's not really your job to like educate people on these things, and it's more it's more effective to try to be like a guiding light, give them the resources so they can make up their own minds. And no one likes having someone jump down their throat and just cram a bunch of like theory at them. So, like I avoid that. And
you don't just throw a copy of Karl Marx books at everybody who disagrees with the channel.
Yeah, exactly. You don't load up your clip full of talking points and just blast at the person.
Right. Okay. So allowing it, but kind of trying to guide them rather than teach them right there.
Mm-hmm. And let it be organic too, like.
Yeah.
I'd say it also kind of depends on the viewpoint in question. A little self-plug, I do Nordic news streams on Saturdays, where I talk about things that happened in the Nordic countries. again, I live in Sweden and I'm from Denmark, so it's like my part of the world. And there will often come people in and asking about like the Muslim no-go zones in Malmö and other very propagated racist viewpoints by like Tim Pool and others that have been like, and those usually, I usually insta-ban them because I personally, in my own stream, have a very low tolerance of bigotry. But I also follow up and says to the stream that this is a myth and it's not a thing. And I live very close to Malmö. I've been in several of the no-go zones myself as a white person, and it's like and I only heard about them being no-go zones until after I had been in them. I was like, oh.
And you're here to tell the tale.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's just, it's just something that, I personally like to like ban them and then debunk whatever it was they said like very quickly. Like that's just not true. Like, yeah.
So, Emily, I want to ask you about that. Is there? I'm sure there's a lot of dissenting trolls in your channel. I remember when I used to have enough time to hang out there more, there were a lot of times when you got the first few questions that seemed legit, and then you're like, oh no, 14-year-old troll again.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips on figuring that out or what you do? Do you always just have to deal with the first few questions?
I mean, like we were talking about earlier, you can kind of pick a troll's like username out of a crowd. You can go by, account creation date. If they literally just started following and immediately started throwing heated or big questions in the chat. And by big questions, I mean like questions about potentially contentious subjects and stuff like that.
That's a really good point.
But you start to, especially with sea lining, you start to see the kind of ways that these questions get worded more often than not, and how they kind of start asking questions. It becomes this very visible pattern, and I don't think I could like explain to somebody how to see that kind of behavior pattern without experiencing it several times before picking up on it, but sometimes you get people in asking genuine questions and they come from a place of simple ignorance, not like malicious or anything. But then you get those questions where you're like, oh, I know where this is going. I already know where this is going. And then every once in a while, I'll be like, maybe I don't know where this is going, and I'll give them one more chance. And then their next entry in chat, it's like, immediate ban. Like you just, whereas,
sometimes,
you get the genuine questions and you can actually have a productive conversation and it's really, really, really good. But that's honestly like less often than the sea lining and just asking questions, that kind of fun stuff.
It's like a tricky dichotomy because you wouldn't be on Twitch streaming politics or moderating for a politics stream if you didn't want to change some minds. So it's like you always have to allow at least some bit of what may come off as really hot or really bad takes. I think it's really interesting. Now, this might be a hot one. Don't say anything. Please do not get us banned on Twitch. But do you think there's any topics that no political streamer should broach at all, period? Just anything that's completely off limits?
I mean, I have a really obvious one. Like really harmful conspiracy theories shouldn't be given any room or time to discuss. Like the biggest one I can think of is like the JQ. Like if somebody even shows a hint of a whisper of wanting to get into a discussion about that isn't just obvious criticism of that whole, now, conspiracy, then yeah.
Do you think a political streamer can talk about how dangerous those are, though, in a non-harmful way?
Absolutely. Yes. It's important to talk about and point out how dangerous some of these like really hard conspiracies are without like lending any credence to them at all. And that's super important.
That's the fine line, right? Like when you debate something on something that's so baseless, it's almost like you're giving as much credit to it. You're giving more credit to it just by discussing it. It's a fine line to draw, but I think if you keep the criticism strong.
Yeah, I mean, just there's discussing it from a critical viewpoint, and then there's like engaging in like a debate or something about it with somebody, and I think that's where the line is discussing it and criticizing it, and then actually like debating it with someone, or like, oh, what if? It's like, no, don't even go into what if territory with something, especially like the example of the JQ. Don't even go into the what if of that, because that's lending some credence of it. That's giving it room to be legitimized. Whereas if you just speak about it from a perspective of here's what it is, here's why it's a problem, here's why it's harmful, etc., that's a good spot to be.
I like that. I like that. There's definitely a difference that needs to be noted between platforming something and allowing something to thrive. And this works for us as moderators too, in the comments that we allow in chat is, okay, so I'll use a conspiracy theory that I don't find particularly dangerous, but extremely silly, and just say, if someone in chat is like, oh, but what if the earth actually is flat?
I knew it.
If you want to go ahead and time that out immediately, that's protecting the community, because it's platforming it. It's engaging in a what if that doesn't exist about something that is, well, not in this case, but a conspiracy theory. Does that sound in line?
I'll let somebody else take this.
I would probably see if they double down on it, or if it's just a joke, because I know I've been that we sometimes joke around a lot with, especially with the most silly conspiracy ideas, but yeah, but it's so it's like, but if it's a completely new person, then I would be like, that's kind of weird. And if it's completely out of context, and like Mega is saying in the chat as well, it's also a lot of these theories are also very intersected with things like the big Q and other, like the shadow government hiding things from us, and so it's like, even though they seem silly and innocent, a lot of them actually have a lot more like sinister backdrop, and it's easy to go from flat Earth to 5G to global shadow government conspiracy.
Yeah, you peel back the layers and you start to see the heart of the conspiracy, which is actually just the JQ again, like most of the time.
All conspiracy theories taken for far enough seem to end up in roughly the same spot. Yeah. So no, I should clarify what I said. I think flat Earth conspiracy on its own, if that's all you believe, it's relatively harmless compared to a lot of other conspiracy theories. But yeah, everything
on the surface, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Take it further. The further you take it always ends up in the same prejudices, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So to Stealth Mouse and Freso, is there anything that you think is an absolute no-fly zone? Never should a political streamer ever touch this topic? Or do you think it's all worth it in the name of education?
It depends on the topic, really. If you are interjecting like your own experience into like an issue that your experience doesn't really align with, and it's not really your place, a lot of the time. But I mean, in the name of education, like, yeah, I think pretty much everything should be not off limits. But if you're like a white man like discussing issues that affect black women, and you're trying to tell black women like what they need to do to fix those issues, like that's not your place. Like, but
Yeah.
like educating on those issues is kind of different.
Right. That actually makes a lot of sense. I know Zombie said this 1,000 times, and it always bears repeating is, things like white people listen to white people. So I don't think that's untrue. And I think it is good that streamers do touch on topics that don't relate to their demographic, especially if you are like a white dude. Like, yeah, you should be talking about politics that don't relate to you, please. But yeah, I think taking that, cutting that hard line of what's your space to be speaking on and how much should you speak on. Is it education or is it instruction? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good way to phrase it. Stealth Mouse, I like that.
I try to, when I do touch on on some of these subjects, like black people, women's issues, things like that, trans issues for that matter. I'm a cis man myself. I try to like talk about it as best I can, but then also say, hey, you should go check out these streamers or like go these places to kind of continue, like take the first bit from me and then go to them to kind of get to the next level.
Yep, that's how I do it too, for sure.
Yeah, like. Yeah, I can name a bunch of people that have helped me a lot with like disability rights stuff. That I'm like, yeah, I know these basic things, but you should go check out this person and listen to what they're saying. Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if there are any one topic that in and of itself is a complete no-go. I can't think of any. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just, yeah.
One kind of escapes me too. I will say, if you are a moderator or a streamer, set your boundaries. Everybody can have their personal boundaries. We're talking philosophically about whether or not something should be off limits, period. But if there is something that you cannot talk about as a moderator, let your mod team know. For me, it's a certain issue. If this certain issue comes up, I'm either going to be typing away at the keyboard 100 miles a minute, or I'm just going to be like, I can't talk about this.
Yeah.
It's too much for me today, and it's too much for me most days. I'm not going to do it. Streamers should set their own boundaries. So just a reminder, we're talking about this philosophically. It is totally okay and normal to have your own limits on what you want to talk about, and you should make sure you enforce those.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I've learned is know your limits and respect them, or at least try to get to know your limits. I mean, I didn't know my limits at first when I first started streaming, and I've learned over the last like year and a half doing this that I have some limits on certain things I'll talk about, how long I'll talk about them for. And some days it's just like, all right, I got to drop this because I'm getting, any number of overly emotional in one direction or worried or something. And it's better off to just, put the subject down or throw it on the back burner until you're feeling better about it, or just don't touch on it if it's not something you're comfortable with, and, respect your own limits. For sure.
Can't be said enough. It's seriously.
And Lucina has a really good point in chat as well, that, there's also the Twitch terms of service, which in its nature also prohibits certain topics from being discussed.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Thank you, Lucina. Yeah.
Which, and there's been some changes to that recently, and it's hard to know exactly where the line is. I personally don't feel qualified enough to really speak on it. I said in the pre-show that I wasn't going to bring it up, but here we are. There have been some changes to policy, and it's not exactly clear what you can and can't do. Am I wrong?
But it's in my understanding, Lucid did reach out to his Twitch contact and to clear up, and as I understood it from his Twitter thread, it's basically nothing has changed. It's just been like clarified more, like the legal position after in the wake of the Destiny
right.
Right. Yeah. I do think that was a direct result, that Destiny clip, and then the clarification in the rules. I think that's definitely
seems like it's got to be right.
Yeah, like come on.
I'm not a fly on the wall at Twitch, but like,
yeah,
seems about right.
And okay. I get it. You know, it's not just for like it's not all about like I think it's partially for Twitch's image, but also for like the safety of streamers in, you know,
and also for their own covering their own behind like legal liability issues.
And like, you know, there's people streaming from all over the world in different countries and places on this lovely planet of ours have different kind of rules for what kind of stuff you can engage in and advocate and talk about. And, you know, it's just covering, you know, being careful, I guess.
And someone in chat mentioned that, you know, Twitch being vague. Marked at home said that. Yeah, it's vague is generally the intention when it comes to guidelines in terms of service. Vague covers more, and most clauses end with something like or anything of the like. It's just like they want to be vague because they can cover themselves more with it. Now,
including but not limited to.
Oh, what was that?
Including but not limited to.
Yeah, including but not limited to. Exactly. What does that mean? That means whatever we want. So we're getting close to the end here. We're going to have to start wrapping up in like 5 minutes or so. If there's any questions that anyone has in chat, go ahead and drop them. There's one more thing that I actually thought was a really interesting question that I want to know from all of you, really. Do you need to have a political background or knowledge in politics to moderate a politics stream, or to for Emily's case to know what needs to go? And for you, it's probably more teaching your mods things that, you know, need to go. But do you think that requires political knowledge, social justice knowledge?
It honestly, there are many different types of political streamers on Twitch that come from very different political I don't know, like political positions and viewpoints. And I think it really depends on what that community is geared around, right? Like, just like there's leftists like myself on the platform, there are some people who are further right, and they may have different, parameters, I guess, that they operate in, and what they'll allow and what they won't allow. I think it's important to have a level of knowledge on just general stances that your political position holds, to navigate that of others, and to navigate running a chat, running a stream, and doing it smoothly, and doing it with a sense of direction instead of just kind of, crash coursing through it, right?
Right. Right.
I would say that I don't think they necessarily have to do it before, know it before they come to the stream, but hopefully during the course of watching the stream from the first time and until the point that the streamer is comfortable enough with them to make them a mod, they will hopefully have picked up most of the political knowledge and background information that they would need to effectively do the moderation. Because like OG said, if you can't recognize dog whistles like 1488, then it's like one of the ones you banned before we went live here was someone with 1488 in their username, right? So it's it's pretty, some of those dog whistles pop up all over the place, and it's you need to recognize them and just act on them right away.
Absolutely,
in my opinion. So, yeah.
Stealth, what's your take on it?
I mean, I think you need, like Freso said, you need to learn some of the lingo at least. And, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to be fully aware of all the current events going on, but I think that definitely helps. It can help you anticipate what your chat is going to be like on any given day, especially if something crazy happened over the weekend. You can say, all right, on Monday, chat's going to be ridiculous.
Yep.
Information like that helps a lot. But I don't know jack about theory, so
right. I haven't read a bunch of theory. I do watch current events, so that is super helpful to know the big things that are happening. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's, depending on who you're modding for, I think this is going to be especially true of modding for female streamers, trans streamers, black streamers, any minority or oppressed group is going to face a different level and a different type of harassment. And I think don't ask your streamer about it. Please educate yourself on this one. Don't make them go through all of the slurs that they get called so that you know to block them. Please don't do that. Do that research on your own. But I definitely think, as sad as a fact as this is, you do need to take into account the identity of your streamer, especially when it comes to politics, because those things seem to pop out a lot more. And there are a lot of dog whistles like the 1488 one. There are a lot of them that are literally as subtle as two numbers. 14 means something. That's something that you need to be able to keep an eye out on. I definitely remember a time when I was moderating a political chat or a chat that had gotten political, and someone new spoke up, and the last two numbers of their username were 88. And I was like, you better be 31 years old, because you are not.
Yeah. 88. My younger brother was born in 88 as well, and I'm so is that? And I've had a lot of usernames with my own two last digits of my year as well. It's
I have too, and I'm so glad I was born in 89. I've got a lot of usernames like that I'd have to do.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have a show coming up right after this. So we are going to get to our intros here, but make sure you stick around. Right after this, Dan's Stream of Thought is going live with Danatage. It's going to be a fantastic show. And when I say right after this, I don't mean in an hour or in 30 minutes. It'll be in the next 5-10 minutes probably. Yeah. So make sure you don't touch that dial. Stay tuned. It's been a fantastic show. We didn't even get through 3/4 of the questions that we had. Chat, you've been fantastic. But let's say a little goodbye. We'll go. I don't remember what order I went. We'll go in the same order. We'll start with Emily. Tell us where to find you, what you've been up to, and all that good stuff.
Well, you can find me at twitch.tv/Rocketanski. I'm going to put a little exclamation mark in the chat room so you can see who I am. Yeah, if you like the idea of a inclusive, leftist, queer, neurodivergent, chill space, that's what I do every day, 1 p.m. Eastern, well, every weekday, and some Saturdays. And yeah, I'm just doing my thing. And you can find me on Twitter at the same username, same deal. And if that sounds good to you, come check me out. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
The streams are so chill. Y'all got make sure you hit that follow button. And next, Freso, you mod all over the place. You do all kinds of cool things. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm Freso, and as I mentioned earlier, I do a Nordic news streams on Saturdays where I go over like what's happened in the political sphere and in like the sphere in general of various Nordic countries. I'm mostly focused on Sweden and Denmark because those are the ones I actually have close ties to. But I try to also touch on like Iceland, Greenland, Finland, Norway, and the other colonies and territories of the Nordic countries. But other than that, I just do I do a whole lot of things. I do gaming streams. I do open source programming every once in a while. I do open data editing. I do just hang out, just chill React AMD type streams every once in a while. just whatever I feel like. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, so it's very much like when the mood takes me, which is why other than my Nordic news stream, which has a pretty set schedule, everything else is kind of like when I feel like it and it fits into my schedule otherwise, and what I feel like at that given moment. But you can follow me at twitch.tv/Freso, and also Twitter. And on Instagram and some other places, I'm _Freso because someone else took Freso before me. But in most places, I'm just Freso.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Stealth Mouse, what about you? Tell us what you're up to.
So I'm not up to too much. Just I stream every now and then on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/StealthMouseTV. I do drumming streams. I take requests and I drum along to whatever you want, and sometimes record or do remixes on stream. And you can find me also on YouTube and Twitter mostly for memes and all that junk. And on YouTube, I like to post my remixes, highlights from my Twitch channel. Those remixes being what I make for Lucid, which I know Wes loves very much.
I do.
And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yes, if you make sure that you check out Stealth Mouse's YouTube. I love the remixes that he does for Lucid. They're fantastic. I'm Wes Sisa. I've been Wes Sisa. I'll probably always be Wes Sisa. I'm on Twitter and Twitch under the same name. You can find me on both, but I'm pretty boring on both of them. I am one of the co-hosts here on Behind the Streams. We've got a bunch of great co-hosts here, so you won't see me every week, but I do appear here some Tuesdays at 5 p.m. As I said, we've got a show coming right after this. We're less than 5 minutes away now, so stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We've got an awesome show with Danitaj, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Your chances are gone, and I need you.